Okay, people. So today I am blessed by Jigeesh Magar and Antonio Lujak. Right, the Jigeesh wrote and directed and produces. Antonio produces and you know what I mean, does his thing in the film itself. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
great being here. Great being here. Excellent.
I mean, you, Kevin, yeah.
Right. So you've got a new film coming, Tacoma, right? How are you feeling about that?
Oh, feeling great. It drops on Friday. It's great. I think it's been getting everything has been buzzing. It's been great. People talking you know um, just super positive, excellently about so. And I think it's intense, suspenseful. It represents who we are. And what we're fighting for. And I think it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to people watching it. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting film. It's a really interesting film that just really draws you in. But
Oh, thank
it's
you.
it's very kind of intricate on the science, right? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Creating this, did you think or worry that that might be a hurdle for some people?
I mean, it's a good question, actually. I mean, I really feel like the science itself, I wanted it like, the that to me for the movie is more like a backdrop. It's like
Mm,
the science part of it, because science really represents the ambition and the
yeah,
invention, right? I mean, here in the US, like, and also in England. I was born in Birmingham, so I have family, and I go back for it. So
gotcha.
yeah, I was. So it's like, but it was, I feel like ambition and invention, it constantly, it has, always has like a, throughout our worlds, always had a massive amount of conflict, a massive amount of hurdles to get past. It's just
Mm,
not readily accepted. And so the science is really a backdrop, and having though, I wanted so those details that you have, like for instance, in the scene in the Thai restaurant, which is one of my favorite scenes. Actually, a lot of my favorite scenes in that restaurant.
Mhm.
It's cool. It's a cool place. I love the people who work there. It was great. And that's where I'm, and I'm super obsessed with the naturalism, obviously. But them talking about it, I wanted to make like what they're creating, this revolutionary serum. I wanted it to be as real as possible, as
mm,
this could. I mean, and so kind of researching the science and seeing how it could happen. We also had a friend who is is the scientist in stem cells, at a laboratory here. So got quite a bit of you know um, quite about information from how this could possibly happen. So, and so that was really important to me for, like, like we can reference a couple of movies like Pi, for instance, like how Aronofsky uses mathematics in a way that could be a possibility as well. What
yeah.
he's going through. So I wanted it to be as real and as possible, that it could be. So using real science and using um, you know, particular, like, you know, uh, formulas and pathways that it could go down. Now, once you get to more towards the end of that, like that's, that is not something that we can do in our world, and stuff, combining like plant human stem cells, all that stuff. But that's what I think. But otherwise, I think like that particular scene there, I think otherwise where we do have Leo's interaction with everything, right? I mean, like what he's constantly failing and trying to find a breakthrough. We really are focused on visually what's going on, with him and his lab, and which is also kind of basically another entity in the movie. And
Mm,
so yeah, and so I felt like the science, I wanted it to be as accurate as possible, but really have it be backed up to what's really, what they're facing, what lies ahead, these ominous forces that I like to call them ominous forces, and, and it kind of speaks allegorically to many different, pursuits, in our world, in our country, and, what we're going through today as well. So, yeah. Hope that answered the question. Kind of went on about it. So,
Yeah, no.
yeah,
I, I,
that's it.
I think the thing I liked,
Yeah,
well, one of the things I really liked about the film was the fact that the science felt real.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah,
is it kind of, just thinking about it right now, it reminded me of Arrival in the
yeah.
fact that
Hmm.
they use maths to talk to the
Hmm.
aliens, and it all
Exactly. Yeah.
felt real. It felt logical, right?
Right.
When
Exactly.
you know what I mean, you don't need to know everything about equations and algebra and
Yeah.
all of this
Exactly.
stuff.
Right, man. It's
Yeah.
exactly right.
It
Yeah.
sucked you in, and that's
Yeah.
what happened with this film for me.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
I'm really down with science, man. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to go that route for a career.
Oh,
So
awesome.
this was
Great.
just
Yeah.
like, oh shit, yeah, yeah, you would need that to mirror those two to get. And it was just like,
Right.
oh shit. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And yeah, that's awesome. And like those, proficient as you are with science, even those that aren't proficient, it just it makes sure that like that science is accurate for them. And even if they may not understand, it's just like as we move through it, they can be assured that we are leading to that great destination with the science. And to me, the best Arrival's great. I think even like looking at Cronenberg's like The Fly and doing it
Mm,
even to those, for him, doing that kind of metamorphosis stuff, but even the science, even how basic or maybe inaccurate may have been, he wasn't going for accurate science in The Fly, but he tried to like do it that way. The process was important, right? And stuff. But for me, like, that's why Arrival's such a good movie. It is, accurate science with that possibility, and stuff. And that's exactly what we do here. And I mean, that's a great example, and I do feel like those are the best, where all the science is grounded. I feel like those are those in terms of science fiction. And if you're talking about thriller and others and like, horror and like other like subgenres, but if you're talking about science fiction, I feel like we have to remain like close to like our, present day, and stuff. For me, when you go too far out, like, I think you start losing people. You lose me, and there are very few science fiction movies I like that are like too far into the future. To me, the best are just grounded in our present day to a certain extent, and stuff. And
mm.
so I think, and so it bring up, as you said, like the believability and brings an absolute like a realism to it that we can then relate to, and stuff. And those like that enjoy the science part, that delivers as well there. So yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah.
that, like, the grounded approach. I remember there was a film a few years back called The Tangle. It's
Hmm.
from Christopher Soren Kelly and Jessica
Yeah,
Graham.
yeah,
Oh my days, it's so good. It's
yeah,
so good. And it's dealing with like AI. And so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
with subjects like with this, with stem cells. It's
yeah,
taking a subject that is in the zeitgeist. People will recognize the terms, they understand it. I think there's
yes,
more learning around it, but
yeah,
then it plays with that subject and
yeah,
creates this interesting narrative that
hmm,
sucks you in. But because it's kind of, you feel the film is just a few years from where we are now, it
hmm,
doesn't feel out of reach in the respect that, oh well, this will never happen in my lifetime, oh this is ridiculous. You're just like, yeah, no,
right,
this could be in a
right.
few years.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, it's like I think that another great point is like, you have to, it has to be like, yeah, this could be a couple of years down the line. It could be 3 years down the line. There's no, I mean, let's be fucking real. These things are close. Like, what we thought about AI, like, oh no, 5 years ago. I mean, look at the
Oh
leaps
my
and
days.
bounds with that. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I mean, look at like for me, like another movie that was so grounded and they used science and engineering so was Primer. Primer did it
Mm.
super, super well, and like, and really made you believe, how time travel can work scientifically, and of course, the humanism, obviously, right? You know, what happened, how it, you know, the effects of that. And so, but that movie as well is like, you know, they brought science into it to such an extent, and I think you know, to how they feel like it, and accurately like that. It was like that. It was like, oh well, this is how this can be, and it's, you know, it's close. You know, even though time travel isn't that close, but they made it feel close. You know, but I do believe, you know, that um, you know, the science we're talking about and is close. You know, and it's not too far off at all. And I think that's what makes it just more palpable, you know, as well. And you know, I think all those movies really, yeah, and stuff. So definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, good
No,
point.
no. The more you hear about stem cells and what
Hmm.
they can do for
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
it's incredible. And
hmm,
then you know what I mean, you hear people like Dr. Rhonda Patrick and
yeah,
you know, Huberman talk about like heat shock proteins and
yeah,
cold shock
yeah,
proteins, you know what I mean,
definitely.
coupled with stem cells and just what we can do right now is insane. So when you're watching Tacoma and
Hmm.
they're talking about this serum, you're like, that doesn't really feel too crazy. It
Right,
doesn't feel like an outlet. Be like, that's never, you know what I mean? It's just like, hey,
right, exactly,
Tony Stark's built armor. No, you know what I mean? This is just like, yeah,
exactly.
no, I see that happening, you know, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's a great thing about this. I mean, Antonio, like, what was the thing, you know, because you produce as well as, you know, acting this film. I pretty sinister you when you're acting in the film, but as a producer, what really kind of spoke to you about, you know, the film, the story? What was the things that jumped out at you?
As Jigeesh already was giving all the leads, you know, this story itself, you know, and I mean, I'm gonna make it closer to the story, you know, that I went through an accident, and I'm using kind of all these narratives, you know, like PRP, and so you know, science is moving so fast right now, and especially stem cells can heal a lot of situations in human body, and the story is just integrated, and you know, and the also the hustle in the movie, you know, it really like pulls you in, you know, and just how in you know he's giving his life to develop this serum, you know, that he put all his effort in it, and you know, and just the combined story with, you know, higher demand of people, powerful people, you know, it's like also what is remnant right now in our country, you know, like powerful people want to get you know,
Hmm.
they want to get the serum, they want to
Mm.
use it, you know, they want to take advantage of it, you know, so and then you have like a, you know, the Hispanic family, the father that was paralyzed, and you know, the tension, the surviving mode. I think it's very, you know, very what is around right now, you know, and it's very story is very close to the people, you know, to the community. So it really drives you in, and I love the, you know, I love the script, and I was like, yeah, I want to bring the life to this, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it is such an intricate story when you think about these kind of three stories that kind of intermerge, right? We've got huh,
Alejandra,
Alejandro
Yeah,
and her family, her situation, right?
absolutely,
The illegal immigrant, she's
yeah,
working, you know, at the restaurant, she's doing these other jobs, she's got this ex that is using her.
absolutely,
You know, we then got Leo, right? As Antonio said, he's been working on this serum for so long and he just can't figure it out. He's like, you do wonder about that situation. I do like the way you played it because it's just like, is that real? Are they there? Like, what?
right. Yeah.
How is You know, so you've got all of that,
Right.
and then you've got John, and he's a shit, but you can kind of see there is some things in there, especially when you see the flashback, and then later in the film, right?
Yeah.
You can see there is some good there.
Yeah.
But it's been twisted. Like he's been pulled. He's like a butterfly being drawn to this light, right? The sun. And the sun
exactly.
is Philip and his family, right? Being around that influence and power is pulled.
Yeah.
So we've got these three stories.
Yeah, exactly.
That are so fascinating.
Yeah. He wanted to be accepted by, you know, high community, you know, powerful people. He wants to prove himself, you know. But also, I found very interesting Ghost, imaginary, you know, lower, actually ex girlfriend of Leo, right? That is always there, and you know, is bringing on like kind of you know, even balance in the house and pressure on Leo, you know, to keep his promise. And then he brings Alejandra, and then it's I think has a really interesting spice of love story as well, you know.
Well, I think, like, you know, honestly, like, you know, basically, I think, like, with Leo, I mean, we're coming from, like, you know, it is a meeting of the minds, right? Leo and Alejandra, a meeting, but also kind of meeting of the souls. You know, they're two that are driving for something. I mean, she has this, like, just this innate, just desire and just passion for it, and she's amazing at it. She's a genius, you know, scientifically, but she hasn't had the opportunity, right? That, like, you know, I feel like, you know, like John's character is kind of in the same position. Like, he got an opportunity, he became friends, and, you know, started to kind of take advantage of the relationship, seeing who she was. But he's not all. I mean, he gets seduced, you know, he gets seduced by things that are, you know, and those people he's seduced by, you know, they're pretty good at that, you know, and stuff, and pretty good at exploiting people and stuff.
Yeah, so, it's like Darth Vader and the Emperor.
Right, exactly. Right,
He's
exactly.
been
you know,
seduced.
Yeah.
But then in Empire, we see that Vader, there was still that thing left in him.
There's something in there. There's still something in there, you know, and, you know, and, he can't go through with it. And, you know, that's what that is. Exactly. And, like, you know, with Leo, it's an obsession. You know, we can, you know, like, it's obsession. It's like, I feel like, you know, we do see, you know, we do see his girlfriend and this now, but also in terms of symbolically, you know, just he's driving, and it's something that he never got over, right? And so it's constantly haunting him and haunting the house, you know. But it's like, you know, but also it's coming from his psyche, and it's coming from this, like, very just deep obsession to try to, you know, even though, you know, the tragedy had already, you know, struck, you know. And so, you know,
but these stories, right, just on their own, they could carry a whole film,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right,
just
exactly.
on their own, and being able to weave them in together so intricately and seamlessly, where you know, there's no clunkiness, there's a natural flow to this thing, right? These characters work very well together.
Yeah,
there is a skill in that, Jigeesh, right? Now, just looking on your IMDb, this is the third film you've written. This is the third film that you've so, like, what the fuck, my man? You know what I mean? Being able to do this at this early stage of things, that's, if I was wearing a hat, I would take it off to you, sir, because
appreciate it.
You have done such a really good job here.
I appreciate it. You know, I mean, I had, you know, it's a great cast, and, you know, they did an awesome job, and the chemistry, as you pointed out, was so good, you know, and, you know, and I, you know, and I really wanted, in terms of stylistically, like, you know, like, I kind of work in phases as a director, planning is incredibly important, of course, from the script to planning to actually making the movie. But we're going to plan like visually and auditorially, like, all the, our great, it's of course like visual storytelling. Then when I get on set, like I'm all about the actors, I'm an actor's guy. Eric Robbie said, he's like, you're an actor's guy. And so I like to give him that freedom. And to me, again, that raw realism was incredibly important. But I just, it just, when I make movies and when I'm on set, it just feels like home, and that's what we love to do. We shot it. It's pretty ambitious, 16 days. We shot that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything was fast. The script I wrote that in a few weeks. And then it was shot in 16 days. Then I was it took it took like months and months off my life expectancy, because when I got back, I was like pretty spent, man. I can't fucking tell you, it was like, but no, the cast, the crew, Antonio, great producer, it just kept me rolling, and these guys, just were so great at what they did, and and great people, and all of us, even behind the camera, everybody, in front of the camera, everyone, it was zen, it was everyone just could explore and be kind of very just fluid with one another, and there was nothing, nothing was going to stand in the way of that. And so having that flow was just so, but that's usually out of my sets, my first movie, just that flow, it was kind of known for that, to keep that. And I think that's really important, because the actors are being very vulnerable, and they need your trust, and I saw in the movie, it's like, to me, there's these characters, in the script, have them going in one direction, but what I like to do with them in each scene is let them explore, and see where their emotions take them, while they remain true, while they remain true to the overall arc. But that arc can shift with the way they feel, through the scenes they have with one another, those characters, and that's what I love to do. Give them that freedom, and then let them explore, because that's what's real. That's what's honest. That they got to feel it for themselves. They got to be these guys. I don't want them to play these guys. They have to be these guys. And I've said, it's like they have. I think everybody has facets of these characters in them with varying experience levels. So and that's how we can connect with them in this movie. So,
But where does that come from? Right? Where did you understand how that's such a good way to work? Was it from seeing other directors, conversations, mentorships? What was the thing? How did this speak to you?
I think it's a great question. I don't know that I've seen a lot of movies. I'm a huge film geek, whether I've countless movies, for instance, I can tell you, the way I look at acting, it's not acting, it's like, it's just, it's not performance. It's that actor becoming, and so it's like, and I always throw the word out, actors, you guys aren't actors. You guys are these characters. And to me, the closest one in terms of acting, and there are so many great performances, directors, or the movies of John Cassavetes. He just brought absolute, just naturalism, realism, just what was happening, it was going to happen. That's exactly, and how they felt is how they move forward. With Jen Rollins, Peter Falk, Ben Gazzara, in all of his movies, that he used the same actors again and again. He himself was a couple, obviously, but but primarily, with having Peter Falk, especially Jen Rollins, his wife, who I consider, I love many actors, but I consider the greatest actress of all time. But and so really, I think watching movies my whole life, huge film geeks. My parents were, so they exposed me to American, European, Indian cinema, and I was constantly devouring it from childhood onward. But I think when you direct, when you go in and every director kind of has their own style of things, and I think actors respond to you in a pretty pretty organic way, like they can't help it. and so it's like, and I think when you're directing, I think instincts matter a lot. It's like I feel like I think good direction is seeing and kind of knowing what you want, and if you have the right talent, making just adjustments. And so it's like, there are directors who love to just have absolute control and tell them what to do and do that. To me, that doesn't bring out like what's true. It doesn't bring out what's honest in an actor. To me, it's like, you got to give them the freedom, you got to have that trust. And I think kind of that's what, and what I'm getting to is like, every director kind of has their own. And I think when you set, if you've got those instincts, when you step on set, you'll know kind of it's your way of doing it, your own way of directing, and stuff. And it should feel, if everything's going, it should feel good, and should feel that, it's going in the right direction. And others would feel that with you, like actors would feel that with you, or your crew feels that with you, and stuff. So when I look at particular director styles, like all the directors that I love, I think Scorsese works different than Nolan, works different than Aronofsky, works different than like probably Howard Hawks back in the day, or like Hitchcock, the way he did it. But I think they're all different, and I think like they came with instincts that just unique. And I think I think that's kind of how I go with it. It's like bringing the instincts. And then kind of, and also spirit, all which they all share as well. And I think, that's kind of how, So that's how I feel about it,
I think with a lot of different things, right? It's about finding your own voice.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, when you, like, if you see a protege of a rapper, right, at the very beginning, a lot of times they will try and, well, it's not that they tried, but it feels like they're aping their mentor's flow, right? When you've seen like tennis players, because I know that's Antonio's background, right? Like people can, if they're being trained by this great player, you can see elements of that great player game in their game. But then as you go forward, you see these people then find their own voice.
Exactly.
Right? And
exactly.
So how long do you think it took you to find your voice and the confidence to find your voice? Because when there's so many different talks, right? The Actors Guild talks, and this talks, and these things, and you always have this director, and they might be saying, or someone else talking, and be like, "This is how you should do it." Like people will go to it. You should never do that. You should do this. So when you're new to the game, you'll want to kind of lean on things as a crutch, because the nerves, right? Dealing with this budget, all of these people. So it takes a lot of courage to go, no, this is my vision. This is what I feel. This is what I'm going to do. So, I know that's a bit long-winded, but how?
No, I think that's
a good question. It's an amazing question, actually.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think again, I think every director is different. I feel like, if it's healthy, like if you look back, and you're always going to, as a filmmaker, you're always going to learn from your influence. You're going to learn from those who came before you, and it's not like you're going to take things from them or like borrow from them. They're going to naturally seep into your work. Everybody's work, 100% of movies out there, like those directors they've loved, they kind of, especially ones they grew up with, have influenced them. They kind of naturally seep into their work, And so the same thing for me. But you got to make movies fun to watch. Movies, we're making movies. It's got to be fun to watch, and that also comes naturally. It's got to have something to say. It's got to be original. You got to be. Those, I think, are the three. But I think finding your voice, I would say, comes, like first, I'd never, like when I did my first, which I'm so proud of, like, I'd never touched a camera before that. I wrote 2 screenplays, which I sold, and that was my first, and thankfully, it did well, but I didn't really, I was, as you said, I was like, was very pastiche and like, trying, doing this, like getting behind the camera and just seeing how it just, it's like, that first movie was like, I learned an immense amount. I feel like the second movie onward, the second movie, like Tacoma, like, and then of course I had another one in development with the Alejandra, but really Tacoma being set, that's where you start finding a voice. I feel like second, and then the third, it becomes solidified. And then you kind of, then you hopefully you keep growing. You always want to be a student of the movies. You keep growing, and you keep growing with, with that voice and refining it as you go along, and I do think like, I think there are people who maybe, have a good first movie, then kind of start to decline because it's like, that voice isn't, so, it isn't like, I'd like to say like loud enough or, clear or like, and, but I just feel like, if you're making movies, you start with something and that's awesome, but you want to, it's refined, keep going. Even you could be 10, 50 movies in and like, Scorsese always says like, he's like, got like 30 movies in, 35, something like that. But he's like, I'm still a student of movies. I'm still a student, I would never consider myself a master because when you consider, and when he said he considers himself a master, is like, you stop growing in stuff. And that's not what you want to do, and stuff. So, but being this early stage in filming, I think humility is important, and you just, what you want to say, you just keep refining. And I think like, Tacoma was definitely a seminal one for that, for me, in terms, yeah. And, but I think like, when it comes to filmmaking, being visual storytelling, like, as I was saying before, it's like you're refining, not only, it's all about storytelling,
Yeah.
but it's like, but you have, you're talking about, the visuals is talking about how when we use sound, how when we use music, which is also very calculated, and like, obviously the actors and where I want to take them, to become those characters, and they shot. So it's like all those things, and then how it comes together, I think is the most important to, and it all in service of the story, and stuff. So yeah, so definitely.
Yeah, I think when you look at, some of the great directors,
Mhm.
they don't stop evolving. Like Spike
Exactly.
Lee has made so
Yeah,
many different types of film,
definitely.
you
Yeah.
know, and I think Richard Linklater, right?
Oh, he also is another one.
I
Yeah.
love the Before trilogy. The Before
Yeah, it's great.
trilogy is just, there's some of my favorite films, but he then did Hitman,
Right.
which
Exactly.
is so different to
Yeah.
that film, like his other films, and it's so good, and I love
Mhm.
that. It's kind of like with musicians.
Yeah.
There's those musicians where every album is different,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
really enjoy that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you
Definitely.
can see that they're trying to find new sounds and new ways to
Yes.
convey
Exactly.
to you.
Exactly.
And I think that's always a great thing.
It is, and for me, like there are very few filmmakers who've transformed themselves successfully. Music also, I think it's the same thing. Is like where you transform, like I mean, it, like there's certain bands, they may have had like someone died or they broke up or something like that. But for like someone like someone to go from like someone like let's say before, so Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, they go, then Neil Young transforms, becomes Neil Young,
Mm,
that kind of thing. That's a transformation, but it's like in filmmaking, I think like Paul Thomas Anderson, for instance, if you watch his movies, Magnolia, Boogie Nights, and like then of course, like Punch Drunk Love, everything like that in that phase. But he actually had a transition. Then
yeah.
you see There Will Be Blood, and that is a complete.
Oh
I
my
mean, you
God.
look at that,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's a successful. That's like growing immensely. Saying, I'm going to do it a different way.
Mm,
But Linklater, I put in the same category. I mean, this is a guy who can do, as you said, the Before trilogy, but then he can do Dazed and Confused, and then he can do Boyhood, and then
yeah.
it's like. That's a different film. Like that's like wow, that's pretty awesome. It's like immense growth, but that's what they want to do, and they take they take that leap. They're willing to take that leap and say, I mean, there are other directors. I feel like I've yet to see that. Great directors have yet to see that, and like, how, they're well into their careers and like they haven't quite, and it even comes down to not only like in terms of, stylistically how they make the movie, but in terms of the stories they tell. It's the subject matter. It's like they haven't tackled other things, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and so it's like, but I did like, for instance, I still think like, even if you're stylistically and you're tackling like, it's, I feel like also when you talk about movies that are like pre-70s revolution, I feel like, those guys are kind of stuck in there. Even Hitchcock had a lot of power, like the ones that did have power, Howard Hawks, even like, one of the first writers directors, Preston Sturges, he had so much power, but he kind of stuck to his lane. They were all stuck to their lanes, and stuff. And they did it incredibly well. They're amazing, amazing filmmakers, but I love the ones who just like say, you know what, I'm going to take a right turn here and see where that goes. Cause I can do that right now. And like, even with Aronofsky, he's this pie and he does all these, but then he does like, Black Swan, which subject matter wise, a guy who's doing a ballet, but the darkness, of course, that dark, like his very special form of darkness, always there. And, you got that. So you got to bring things from that, but making those transitions, I think. But for me, like, I think Linklater is, and Paul Thomas said, man, these guys made like serious, to the point where you're like, this film, if someone had not seen the movies, like that guy made that movie, it's like, wow. But they're both great movies, and they just love what they did with it. And I feel like it's also maturity, right? I mean, you kind of like, you kind of mature with the movies you make as well, So.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, would you have thought that the guy that made Sicario
Right.
would
Danny
have
Villeneuve,
made
like
Dune
Arrival.
or
Yeah,
Arrival?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was like, man, no, I mean, his Blade Runner to me was like one of my favorite movies of that year.
Oh,
and
man.
like, yeah, exactly. And but the same guy, you could see aspects that come out in previous movies, right? He does previous movies, but he didn't carry the ones you that pertain to you more, as you go to future movies that you make, and we always carry those pieces. But he did Incendie, right? And you watch Incendie, and I love that movie. It's like, wow, but you can see what it's taken forward. But the same guy, is doing Dune or Blade Runner, is doing this, Sicario and like, and Prisoners, man, done Prisoners.
Yeah.
Man, come on. I love that movie. It was like, and that man, that was but the same guy. Yeah. And then he kind of went and said, I want to do Dune. And like, you know what then even he said was like, he was like, man, Blade Runner, which I consider like, but it was like, man, that was one of the great, I mean, that's an action movie. And I love action movies. Like, that's an action movie that would care. That's original. That's his voice coming in action. Then he showed like regret. He's like, oh man, you know what? I shouldn't have made it so, I should have made it so like that with so much of him in it. Like he called it art. He called it an art action, and stuff. And he's like kind of regret. He's like, and so I feel like Dune, I'm not a big fan of the bit. Like, he kind of went totally. He went totally into like, straight up huge, and not like as much of his voice like he had in Blade Runner, and so, and yeah, I mean, like, I feel like some filmmakers done that as well. I mean, Ridley Scott, for instance, it's like Blade Runner, because his Blade Runner is one of the most artistically made action movies. And then, I'm like, I'm not like, it's like, but then he goes into like Alien, which to me is like, I got to bring more accessible. I got to bring elements of these great genres in there, and specific. Then but but as you go forward, and commercialism is really important. You got to, like I said, make it a fun movie. You got to keep your voice. But as you see his career, he's become so commercial. He's become so like, and he's just kind of all over the place, and a lot of his movies just inconsistent, where he's kind of feel like he lost his voice in that early period, where whether Denny is doing like, Blade Runner 2047, where he's doing like, Prisoners or anything like that. I mean, I feel like he just had it there, and then now he's kind of settled into a particular type with Dune, and kind of, less of him. And so I wonder if he feels like, of course, a certain responsibility, with that. budget level. But,
Yeah, I think the bigger the budget is,
yeah,
right, that can
yes,
impact how much you can really put into the film to an
that's
extent.
you. That's you. Exactly right. That's you as the filmmaker. Like, I feel like there are filmmakers who won't compromise. Nolan has like the elite. You know, he can put himself in every movie. But you know, again, it's like, but you know, if you put yourself in a movie, but it's fun to watch, it's in people are going to come back and watch and watch. Why it has to be. I feel like where the Coens feel like, you know, who are another favorite filmmakers. You know, they've been in a certain budget level, made movies they want to make. You know, it's like, and make great movies, and like, you know, and and of course trusted. You know, like, I mean, that's how it is. You know, and so, and they've pushed forward. And to me, another, you know, like they've had. I mean, look at what they did. Like, even visually, their style changed. I mean, if you look at, like, you know, when you look at, man, Miller's Crossing, Hudsucker Proxy, and then Barton Fink was getting more into. Then you go into, like, you know, this phase, you know, No Country, and like what they did with True Grit, and like all totally different visual, you know, and also in how, I mean, of course, how they would shift back and forth between the genres, you know, of course they're known for that, but man, another, you know, great filmmakers with just transitions. And I mean, all of us there in Blood Simple, you know, the first, you know, you could see it coming and going. They're like, oh no, you know, we're gonna do Raising Arizona now. You know, it's like, it's a total there. And then they go into like all, you know, they go into, you know, Miller's Crossing, you know, of course, Barton Fink, Fargo, and, you know, Big Lebowski. But it was all, you know, they just work their style, and you know, these are stories they want to tell. But then look at that transition going. We've talked about those amazing transition going to like No Country. I was like, wow, man, you know, you're talking about, you know, bringing pieces that you want and then like making that transition. So
yeah,
but
yeah,
for 35, 40 million, I think 45 is the highest they went. You know, so yeah, I mean, it's you know, getting that, yeah. So
yeah, I think with people like, you know, the Coens, with Nolan, you know, people like that, because they've had so many bangers.
That's it, and it's important.
I think the studio's a bit like,
yeah, they trust him.
Yeah, all right, do your thing.
Yeah,
but Villeneuve, he's you know, had some great films, but he hasn't had a lot of films. So I think once you've got a certain number of hits under your belt, you get a bit more leeway. It would, it seems.
Exactly. 100% right. And like, you know, and I mean, that's what it's about though. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, I like, you know, you were talking about musicians before, you know, and we talk about, let's say, like, you know, we talk about someone like, let's say we talk about Led Zeppelin, and we were talking about, and then let's say we talk about somebody, you know, in that, you know, we're talking, let's say we talk about Soundgarden, you know, or talk about Tool, you know, all different bands, all great musicians, you know, but they know how to play like they know how to play. Like they, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, Zet like influenced, you know, those others, but you know, like I said, you take those natural influences with you, but they only know how to play. Oh, I love them all. And like, actually 3 favorites of mine, but like, they know how to play music like they know how to play music. You know, it's like Soundgarden couldn't play Tool couldn't play Sound. You know, they wouldn't want to back and forth. And I feel like, but they got, you know, they have a loyal following, a big audience. You know, people love what they're doing. You know, so I think like the same way, like with Nolan, the Coens, and people like love their movies, love what they're doing, and if they're not, you know, these esoteric movies. They're not like, you know, so commercial and stocky. You know, it's like they bring themselves into it. And I think there's that originality, originality that they're saying something at a level of entertainment, you know, like I was talking about, you know, people love it. And so yeah, they've as you said, you know, they're successful and feels like, man, they, you know, they like what you're making, you know, but they know how to make movies like they know how to make movies, you know, but you know how to make movies or you don't, I think, you know, that's kind of goes, right? I mean, like, however you do it, right? You know how to make music or you don't, you know, so it's kind of like, so it's like that way. And yeah, and I think it's definitely, and so you want it, you know, you make movies for people to watch, and audience to love, and you make movies that connect to them, and stories you want to share with them. You know, that's always been, right? Stuff. So, you know.
Oh, definitely. And it's kind of about finding the right cast.
Yes,
right? It's
important.
about finding the right Now, what I find is very interesting, before we get to you know, the great work Tarek and Chad did at you know, I mean, putting this cast together, But one thing I find really interesting, right? Because I believe the Oscars have now added a category for best casting.
They have actually, yeah, absolutely.
And
Which it should have been there a long time ago, I think. So.
it should have, right?
Yeah.
But the thing with that is, I feel the films that go into that category, it should be indie films, right?
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
and this is my thinking, right? Because when you've got Nolan making a film, right?
Mhm.
Paul Thomas Anderson, right? When you've got Patty Jenkins, anyone like that, people are
Mhm.
like, oh yes, of course I will work with them.
Mhm.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
exactly.
They just say, hey, I'm making a film. They don't have to give you the plot, right? You'll just be
Mhm.
like, yeah, whatever you need me to do, I will be there.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
and so when you're making Tacoma,
Mhm.
right? People are like, wait,
Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Yeah, who's this guy?
wait, so
What
he's
this
got
guy?
this
Yeah.
weird sci-fi film, like science
Right,
like
exactly. Yeah.
it's a harder thing for you guys to bring in a great cast because
Yeah.
everyone wants to be in the next Marvel, the next
Right.
DC, the next big, Nolan film.
Right.
And they'll be like, I want to keep my calendar open. Oh, I'm waiting for this, I'm reading for that. So
Yeah.
there's so much skill, I feel, that comes into casting an indie film.
Yeah.
And it's where the talent is bred, right? You're the feed
Exactly right. That's
as it was,
100% right. 100% right. I mean, like, if you look at, I mean, all the directors you mentioned is like, we're, one or two movies in. That's how they started as well. Everyone
Yeah.
started the same way. I mean, like, it's like, they're getting, and the actors they bring in a movie that's successful at the beginning, are the actors that we know today. It's like that's how we know all those guys. It's like, oh, it's like, it was like, I mean, who knew De Niro, before Mean Streets? He was running around doing, I mean, these guys, so it's like, Keitel in the same, was a court stenographer. I mean, kind of like, but now, a couple movies in, 3 movies in, Keitel, hey, I want to work. And so I feel like, if you're coming up, you're making movies and like you're bringing talent, you're getting Chad and Tarek did a great job, and what they did was like, they kind of honed into what I really wanted. I think that's what's really important between a director and getting also the right crew and especially right casting directors like Chad and Tarek, because they kind of honed, they knew, and I mean, like, Asher and Karrie, who played Leo and Alejandra, those, these were sent to me and said, what do you think? Asher was like first choice for me, and Karrie is same as well. But Joe, who plays Philip, and it's like James, who plays John, it's like those guys were like auditions. I think through, and Tarek for his first one, who kind of narrowed it down, but then he sent me 40, it's like 40 different actors, trying to discover kind of auditioning it. And then I narrowed it. I mean, just what it's narrowing it down and then like saying, okay, let's have these guys auditioning. I just want to see this, this is, and then the, obviously like, like James and like, and Joseph, they just stuck out. They were those guys, and there was no doubt about it, with them, and Ilea, who was also set through them, is like, she was great. She went through reading, plays, the woman, the ghost, so I think also with your casting directors, I feel like also it's so important. It's such incredibly important for the chemistry, for them to have the right, also actors with their right instincts to play complex characters, especially allowing the freedom to bring that emotion. I mean, that's got to be there, and for those particular characters, and I think also the director absolutely, it's your vision, right? You have to know what you want. You have to know who that is and what that is. And like, and also not only just on a fundamental level, but also as when they are auditioning or when they are sending you something, is like, if, do they have what, do they have it for, these particular roles? And, but, I feel like that's where I think good movies, when they start out with, you know, as we start out with filmmakers, that's where those stars are born, you know, and stuff. And that's how we get to know them, you know. And I think, you know, the performances in this movie with the cast we have, they're just going to keep rising, and we'll be hearing about them pretty soon, you know, and stuff. But yeah, really, really important, you know, and stuff. And yeah, and you take them, you know, as you go along, we kind of journey together, right? I mean, the directors you talked about, they use the same actors that they were, you know, when those actors weren't known in their first two movies and stuff, you know. And then maybe they will venture to other actors, you know, that you love and you want to work with, and you know, that's who you write those the characters for you. So yeah, I think definitely. And so, but casting is incredibly important to me, and the most important than getting the right cast at the indie level is the most important thing than like and getting those characters just fleshed out emotionally, psychologically, than is to have a star in it, you know. So that to me makes movie.
Absolutely.
You know? So yeah. So we did though. Eric Roberts was great. He did a great job in it, you know, and he does a lot of stuff, you know, and quite a bit can be questionable, but when he does a movie that he loves and he's into it, he becomes the Eric Roberts that I know, you know, from, you know, El Cucaracha, or like, you know, Star 80, which is my favorite movie of his, but even Public Greenwich Village or King of the Gypsy, Coco Kid, but Star 80 though, you know, that to me is where he was, you know, you know, and a little bit El Cucaracha, you know, those two I always say are my favorites of his. But it was just I was a huge fan, and just he was my guy, you know, to work with it for this. And, you know, only he could pull off that pizza scene, and only you know God. Kevin knows only Kevin knows something, and a catheter scene, you know. So and so yeah.
No, the great thing, and I think the interesting thing about Eric Roberts in this film, I think it makes you like understand what goes into making a film, right? Because I've seen Eric Roberts in films, and it's just been a bit like, this feels a bit phoned in, right? This doesn't feel like the Eric Roberts I know and love. Right?
Exactly right.
In this film, Eric Roberts hits it hard.
Yes, he does.
I said, like the pizza, that just the disdain, just all of these things are palpable. And I think a lot of times, you know, people see a film and someone isn't great in the film, and it's just like they're a shit actor, they're a shit actress.
Exactly.
But how much of that is on the director?
A lot of it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
100% right.
Watching those scenes, and they're giving people direction. It's like when you see a football team, and the players aren't performing, but it's the manager that takes the bullet, and it's just
right.
Like,
you're the captain. You're the captain of the ship. Yeah, exactly.
Like he's giving you the game plan. He's giving you the speak, but for those 90 minutes, that's on you, right? You're not performing. So it's an interesting one when watching this, and I think it really brought home the importance of a good director steering that, because we see a great Eric Roberts in this film.
He was great. He was fantastic. I appreciate it, brother. You know, I was like, and like, you know, he was fantastic, you know, giving him the room, and really kind of like, you know, you have to, 100% right. I mean, like it falls, and, you know, terrible performances from shitty actors, you know, or terrible performances from an actor that you could, you know, I feel like you know, all of his fault. It's the director's responsibility. You did not direct this person properly, you know, and, you know, it's like, and to me, it's like, and you didn't know what you wanted, and you didn't give him that, like I talk about that emotional groove to you know, to feel that resonance, you know, stuff. And so, but also it's like how you connect with them. There's so many directors who go out there and they're just complete fucking assholes, or they're like, they have no, like, however they got to the positions, of course, we will never know, but they just are so like, they have no relationship with those I mean, you were talking about artists, you know, those actors, and you know, they, like I said before, is like, I mean, they're exposing themselves, they're making themselves vulnerable for you, especially for scenes that are complex, it's bringing some demons out, you know. I mean, we have a scene with Michelle, you know, at the end, you know, Alejandra's mom, you know, where she had to, those tears, you see everything is happening, and she's screaming. That's you know, I want to. That's I'm most interested in what's real to them, and I think again, it's like I think it's your relationship with them, you know, and like you want to bring out the best in them, and they want to bring out the best in you as a director, and so, but yes, definitely, like it all, but you know, shitty shitty acting, and like, you know, and anything else, it all falls on the director for not being, you know, the director, you know, and so it's, you know, I mean, we are communicating. It's a clear communication of like, you know, telling the story, you know, and presenting it to the world, and that's how and the, you know, and I think like, you know, I think to people like, you know, like visually like, you know, there was talking, if I may, I was talking to one of my friends. He's actually the editor of the movie, and we were talking about this cinematographer who did stuff with Anthony Mann. He did noirs. He did, you know, and he was, and we were specifically talking about with Anthony, but he was, you know, with a lot of different directors. But his name was John Alton, right? And John Alton, you know, for me, he had a book called Painting with Light, but it was actually, for me, he painted with shadows. Like you could have a box, and he could cast shadows of light that just gave that box dimension, you know, and not only just dimension, but like also just feeling and mood, and like, you know, it could communicate to you as I'm communicating visually. Then, you know, and how much I respect on the production designs, but if they were to populate the room, but what he did with that and how he did that, he just communicated 1,000 things. You know, you with what he did with the shadows, what he did with light, you filled out that room, and you filled out, and how it felt to you. You know, that's what, you know, then translated to, you know, that it you know, filtered through you, and then that's what translated to that visual style. And so to me, but most people in the audience are relating to the actors. They want to relate to other human beings, you know, and visually there's that setting to that visual style is so incredibly important. You know, it's there to, you know, to aid in that, and like to, you know, for me, it's just you know, the design, the visual design is a manifestation of these, you know, kind of these characters, you know. So music as well, right? I mean, we haven't talked about the music, and just, you know, how incredibly important it is to me to have that, you know, the music bring out those other gems in the scenes, you know, like that you wouldn't have otherwise. Only, you know, that's why it should always be applied, you know, just it should be, you know, in a very calculated way, you know, and stuff. So but like I said, that filter, once you apply music to a scene that needs that music not in terms of like, wow, it's a crutch, or, you know, it's like you're, you know, but really bringing out, let's say you have a scene and you know, it's scene alone is like, no, it's great scene, but man, look at these there's these emotional gems you can bring out for you, you know, this particular piece of music, you know, now the audience is now, that filter is now looking at that, you're looking at that scene differently, you know, and like that's, and hopefully as the way you want the audience to look at it. So yeah.
But yeah, the music in the film, as you said, it wasn't the emotional crutch, right? Because that I find so frustrating. So frustrating, because it's just like, I should be able to get the intent of the scene without you playing, you know, music to go, they're in love right now, or this.
Exactly.
Tell me that, right? It should be the script. It should be the actors. That's what should be telling me. The way it's lit, the shot angles, all of these things tell me this, not the music. So I like the way the music was integrated into this film to help boost up that story.
Exactly. And, you know, music is, to me, you know, another character in the movie when it is there, you know, and, you know, and, you know, so you know, again, like, you know, the directors we've talked about, like they use music in that way, you know, and that's what the importance of music, you know, that's what is the importance of music for us, the importance of music for a certain sequence, you know, and so, but it, Yeah, I mean, I feel like where it's used poorly is like, where the scene is poor, and like, and
Yeah.
I know a couple stories where studio movies, they're like, oh, the scene is so poor that like when they see the dailies that like they say, just add music in because acting is terrible here. I'm like, that is, that's
Mm.
we as audiences do not want to be fed that,
No.
and so yes, it's as movie fans and film goers, like and like just we want to, we just want to be there for full experience, and movies by filmmakers who fucking put their soul into it, and did, and not insulting us as audience members, and want to show you this and tell this great story, so it's like but I always look at what that stuff is like, oh, let's just churn it out, that like this, let's, oh well, no, that scene's like, oh, just throw music on. Oh no, let's go out, throw music. Oh well, we need to have this to heighten this. I'm like, you shouldn't have we need to have this piece of music to heighten this. I'm like, you shouldn't use music just to heighten. You should be heightened already.
Yeah.
You want to just bring another facet to that. It's like, okay, wow, now it's heightened and suspenseful, something, and so so it's like, oh, it's heightened and horrific, so I mean, all that, with me, so and so and in terms of what's heightened is that you have that one, you have that, like, as I said, that one facet, but then you add those multiple facets with the music. Again, if that's the complexity you want, that's what it brings. But we don't want, this childish, basic, assembly line bullshit, where they're like, throwing music on because they're compensating for something that's complete, junk. So yeah, well, that's how good movie making is, stuff. So.
Yeah. I think you really notice it in rom-coms.
Terrible action movies,
Yeah.
like, lower level action, which they also churn out now. It's like, these B or C level, so it's like, yeah, it's just, it's the, it's just like, there is, the art's taken out. Like, it's not, there isn't to begin with, it's like, the thought, to bring it on, to make this, have it be alive, it's just not, it's not there. It's not something they, it's nothing, and it's more, obviously more just, everyone has a responsibility to the investors, and everyone has a responsibility to make a great movie that's successful, but, nobody wants to see an assembly line, be insulted by a assembly line piece of junk,
No.
so like that. Yeah.
No.
So,
Unless you're the
plenty of. Right. right. Totally, but definitely. Yeah.
Oh man. Yo, one thing I forgot to ask, like with the casting, going in, how fleshed out were the character templates for you? Like when you were like looking to cast Alejandro, Leo, Gene, Philip, or like John, did you have like the race involved? Did you have like, tall, short, blonde hair, dark hair? What were all of these things in your mind, or was it just that's a great performance? No, that's definitely John. Oh, that's Leo, right? That's Alejandro. Like, was it that? Or like, how did that come to you?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of casting, I had a couple of them. To me, I feel like Leo and Alejandra definitely, obviously Indian American and Latina was definitely, and and in terms of and then in terms of the other characters, definitely, I'll of course clear exactly what I wanted, but it was also a combination of what I wanted and the auditions I saw. It's like, this is the guy, this is who it is, like, and and I wasn't just looking for in those auditions. I wasn't just looking for, oh, he can play. I mean, he can, like I said, I don't like playing, to me is nothing. I wanted to see them. I wanted see what was behind the lines they were reading, and how they were kind of like because it's like I said, I'm more about like how they, you know, a good actors be able to bring out those things from within them, you know, like that's true, that's real, you know, and stuff. And so like with James and with Philip, you know, and Ilea was, you know, she was, you know, like they were in, you know, Daniela, who played sister, same thing. I mean, Daniela was with very few. I mean, she hadn't really done much anything before, but how she was able to, like, you know, like just bring that character out here, but also in a way that was real to her. That was like, you know, just just rich to her. And it would, like, that's what I look for. You know, they could fuck up the line. Like if they're auditioning, they can fuck up the lines all they want, and they could fuck it up here, fuck it up there, and all this kind of stuff. But man, if they're bringing that character and bringing out, and you know, and it may not be, you know, they don't know anything about it. They got like a couple pages. It may not be like they know the character fully yet, you know, but they're bringing the shit. They're bringing it, you know. It's like, then, you know, as we get on set, I was like, no, this is the character. Now you've read the script, is that, then you can bring that. So, but I know, you know, with the, just, you know, how well, because you know, most actors that can't do that. Like, you know, I think it's artificial for them. It's like a technique, you know. We're talking about, like, you know, people being people. When you talk about movies, people, you can't rely on a technique. You say, well, I'm going to rely on this technique and do the no. And so really in casting it, I was looking for that, you know, it's like, and, you know, either you're, you know, like, so I knew exactly what I wanted, and either you're good at spying that or not. And so it's like, and so, yeah. And so that's primarily what I was looking for, is like how they were interpreting those characters emotionally, and how with ease they were able to like express that, you know, and stuff. And they could have fucked up 2 lines. It didn't matter, you know, they were, you know, so so the actors you see here, they were just the ones, and they were, you know, out of so many, and like, they're the ones who you know, did that just very, very well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I hadn't come across a lot of these people before. You know, this is, I feel this is the first time seeing Karrie and Asher. But if I see their names on something going forward, right, that's a big pull factor for me.
That's what we were talking about, because they did. How great were they? They were fantastic.
Good.
Yeah, they were so good. Yeah.
You
know, you know, so you know, they were excellent, and it was great. Also, I wanted to mention, like, it was great that Antonio could lend his, you know, ominous, you know,
oh my
being
God.
into, you know, you know,
about menacing.
Like, you know,
you mean it was just like, put your head down. You're just like, oh,
right.
Fuck.
Oh,
fuck.
Right.
Exactly. It was just a simple kind of couple of words, but it just carried that weight.
Yeah.
You're just, you know, like, oh,
absolutely. And I loved, you know what I loved, you know, and like, it's like, again, you know, I kind of like, I think we've maybe touched on a little bit, maybe not, like, no, we didn't, like, you know, I kind of defined, like, characters being defined not by what they say, it's their actions. You know, if you throw, like, it's like throwing some names, like how they, you know, it's like the pizza scene, or it's like, but for me, how he did the, you know, well, everyone will see the sticker. What it said and how he did it, like, with absolute, like, totally casually, like, it was like, you know, it's like, you know, so
this wasn't his first rodeo,
right? Exactly.
And you know, done things,
right? Exactly. You know,
I didn't, you know,
he was cold. He's straight.
Yeah, I didn't want it to overact with any of these scenes, because you already have like a main killing scene in the movie, right? So it's already a major effect. So I want to, like, keep the other things, you know, natural, you know, calm,
right?
Because you already mess up, you know, a person. So,
but it's also for me, again, it goes back to what I was saying with actors, like when you're, you know, going through audition process, you know, and you're not necessarily looking for them to hit the lines, you know, like for me, but bringing out those very, you know, very specific emotions that, you know, for that character, like he just had the you know, there was something about like, you know, how he carried that role. It was, you know, it was cold. It was like, you know, unforgiving, but also a bit goofy, you know, and like, you know, had kind of all those things going on, you know. You know, he also wasn't just like Phillips, you know, henchman. He was more like, you know, I've kind of done this a lot, you know, this is the way it is.
Mm.
But, you know, but I feel like with this stick, we're taking a deep breath and stuff. It's a little, it's just funny. It's just like, you know, that's how he kind of looks at the world. You know, it's like, you know, with this casual eyes, like, oh, I just, you know, or, when he says, "Oh, another fine mess," you know, he's, you know, after the bite, took, "Oh, well, you know, this is the way I look," you know, and so everything, you know, everyone is kind of like to him expendable. So it's like, you know,
Yeah,
so,
but
you know,
it didn't feel forced, right?
yeah, and
Sometimes
that's
you'll watch a
yeah,
film, and
yeah,
I think a lot of times you see it in a gangster film,
you
and
do, yeah.
be like, okay, so you guys, you know, what I mean, you're like the henchman, and and so you have to
Right,
be like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr, rrr," and you're just like,
right.
oh man, like
Yeah. Well, see,
I,
this is my point too. It's like, again, like our cast, they had to have you know, and they had to have these in, you know, have it in them. You know, it's like
mm,
he, you know, really like, again, these you know, these parts of the character are in there, and they just, you really don't, you're not playing him. You're becoming that because you can access those. You know, and those accessing the best, you know, bring out these genuine, authentic performance. I mean, that's what I'm all about. You know, those, you know, that's, you know, like I said, you know, they become those characters, they become those people, they become people for us. So
The,
that's what it is. You know,
the challenging was the entering scene in the house when I fight with Leo. So we didn't hire a fight coordinator.
okay,
And then, you know, I never had a fight scene, you know, that crazy fight scene. So I got I got a little bit bruises, but
Look,
you know, I think looked really, you know, intense, you know, the scene, and yeah, that I was like a little bit worried how that's gonna look like, you know.
oh,
Um,
I really love that scene, the
mm,
acid scene at the end, you know, all that, you know, and I feel like they played it out. Like even the guys that his, his minions, you know, his guys, you know, they did a great job. You know, they were, you know, it was great, and you know, I just wanted to be, you know, it was like I didn't really want it to be coordinated. It should be scrappy, and you know, again,
mm,
it should be just like they don't. I mean, it's just very just you know, they don't really know, like they're fighting, but it's not like they're you know, it's like we're not talking about like, you know, Bruce Lee or Jet Li or
yeah,
Jackie Chan
exactly.
hanging out, and we're talking about them scrappy, they're just trying to stay alive. These guys are punching the hole through the, you know, the
Yeah,
screen door. They're trying, you know, so there's just, you know, real people fighting. You
yeah,
know, that's how it should be.
yeah,
You know, it's just
exactly,
scrappy, you know,
exactly.
scrappy, just scrapping around, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not a
mm,
plan
So
organized action, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
yeah.
So
So
and that's why it resonates, right? Because a lot of the
yeah.
times, and especially now in films, right? Everyone knows jujitsu, right? Everyone knows
Right. Somehow
karate,
everybody
everyone,
knows that.
and it's just
Yeah.
like, come on
Yeah.
now. No, they
Yeah.
don't.
Oh,
And
well,
and
everyone
and
is suddenly Tony Jaa. You know, it's like I don't know
yeah,
what it is. You know, it's like what's going on? You
exactly.
know, yeah,
And you
yeah,
see
yeah.
those,
So,
and you see those street fight footage where, you know,
yeah.
people like,
Right,
yeah,
right,
like
exactly. Yeah.
I watch UFC, but then
Yeah.
it just they're just rolling on the floor, like tapping at each other.
Right,
You
right,
know what I
right.
mean?
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
this
No.
stylized thing that we see a lot of
Right.
the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah. No.
you
Uh,
you believe Anton and Leo going at it, right? You
yeah.
believe the goons when they're trying, and I
Yeah.
think that's something that keeps a film grounded
Yeah.
when you know what to put into those kind of scenes, you know?
Yeah, and also like, you know, it's got to be visceral, right? I mean, like how is it going to be visceral, people, if it's like, you know, I love, you know, I love martial arts, kung fu movies. I love them. I mean, I've named guys that I love, but it's like those are specific movies. Now,
Yeah.
if you want to be visceral and like, yeah, hard hitting and like, you know, and like just scrappy and as you're saying, grounded, you know, like you just got to get them in there and let them scrap it out, and like, you know, and pretty intense stuff happens. That's kind of how it is with people. Really is. And you, like you said, it's like, you know, the whole MMA shit, you know, it's like, you know, it's really guys, you know, as skilled as they are, they're rolling around on the floor. You know, it doesn't look, you know, you got to separate choreography, film choreography, like, you know, from, you know, you got to separate like Yen Wu Ping choreography from like, you know, real, you know, guys like going out. I mean, but you know, in this movie, nobody has any fighting experience, really. I mean, like, you know, you could say that, you know, Antonio's character Anton, like he has maybe, you know, feels like he's a little bit more, you know, because he maybe has a little bit of military or something like that. You could, you know, leave it to the audience to see where, you know, how that. But yeah, just, you know, just get in there and, you know, fight and get saved. You know, it's like you're fighting for your life kind of deals. Like, I don't, you know, he's gonna be knocked out or, you know, yeah. So yeah.
I didn't that's the thing, because you buy Jason Bourne, right? You know that he like
exactly. You know
that works for that character. It's
exactly.
Of course he would know that.
Yeah.
Of course he would be fighting like that.
But
but
that's how like, you know, that's how like, you know, especially like in the 70s, 80s into the 90s, where, you know, Hong Kong kung fu movies, like they had, you know, you had wire fu, like, you know, you believed it in the world because of the worlds they created. And they're, you know, those movies are, you know, most all the time very fantastical, you know, and even if there's like, if you look at Jet Li's Once Upon a Time in China, all three of them, you know, three and then the fourth, he goes, but like if you look at 1, 2, and 3, like, you know, it's like, I mean, they're combining a very particular style of kung fu and also this technique wire fu and the choreography, man, unbelievable. And we were talking about like, you know, and so it's, you know, it's, but even though it's based on some historical thing, you know, like things that happened to, you know, in, you know, with, you know, things that happened, you know, in China as you came, you know, as, you know, a foreign, you know, people came into China and started, you know, the attitude towards foreigners and how it was all this stuff, some historical facts, he still made it a fantastical place, you know, and so that kind of choreography, that kind of kung fu works, and it's fun to watch. But man, if you're talking about guys, you know, like in Tacoma invading your fucking house, you know, you're just gonna be punching your lights however you can do it, man. You know, you're not gonna get fucking, you know, it's like you're just like, you know, scrapping out. Hopefully, you know, you're not getting your ass kicked. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I know. If you'd seen some wire work like Big Trouble in Little China happening,
right,
like, yo, what?
Right, exactly, man, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, man, yeah. That mentioning that movie, man, I just saw, you know, I was fortunate enough to see they had it at the a theater here in San Francisco. They brought back Carpenters, and they had like, you know, a couple of original, you know, but it was fun movie, but definitely Carpenter going like, you know, I want to do the thing. I was like, hey, I want to do the Fog, and it's like, oh no, Big Trouble. Okay, cool, man. I mean, look, Kurt Russell in the Escape series, you know, from, you know, New York, and I love it, you know, but you know, but it's like, but all of them are cool. Big fan. Stuff.
Yeah.
But totally get what you're saying. But it's like, yeah, you know, I mean, like, you know, but you know, in the 70s with the Shaw Brothers and all the, you know, how the sounds and all this kind of stuff, you know, they also contributed. But it was believable. Kind of the choreography they did was, you know, but to me, the choreography, like in the kung fu movies, like Hong Kong in the, you know, late 80s into early 90s, wow, those guys, and that's where you have, you know, I mean, you know, huge, like Bruce Lee, you know, the father, but like, you know, but what he did was, to me, his movies were the most, they were choreographed. I mean, if someone was fighting with, you know, he was getting those offers on the street, you know, say, hey, we'll find me as you're Bruce Lee, you know, I'm just like, it wouldn't look the same, but his were pretty close to as real as it would look, you know, in martial arts movie, for me, in the movies, you know, you know, if you look at like the Chinese Connection, the Wave of Dragon, you know, Big Boss, all those, you know, before, you know, Enter the Dragon, and so, but like, you know, but the Wave of the Dragon, wow, with Chuck Norris, you know, that's my favorite. Bruce Lee, wow, you know, and the Chinese Connection, of course, which was remade Jet Li in, you know, Fist of Legend. Then McKinn took over, but man, what they were doing and being the choreography, wow, I mean, unbelievable, physical, you know, and just, you know, the intricacies of the choreography, wow, you know. So yeah, definitely have a lot of fun, a lot of respect for that. You know? So yeah, so
it definitely helps add to a film, and it was just like it was a great, you know, in climax to Tacoma.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that was definitely, yeah, and we had a lot of fun shooting. It was probably the toughest. We had so many, like, just visually what we want to do in terms of light. It was not have too much light. It was like, it was a lot of scenes were shot at night. The way everything was, it was just bringing everything down. Very all the colors that you see in the movie are not artificially added. That's how we lit it, and to get those particular, to get that atmosphere we wanted in those those scenes. And then those just building to that comedy, let it all work, just kind of intertwine and move to that climax where they're finally like, we're not taking any more shit. Let's just defend the block. Let's do it, man. Let's defend the house. Let's try to do this. Against
but in a logical way, right?
In a logical way, exactly. Yeah.
Sense.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And so
those...
the way they would do it, right? I mean, it's the way they exactly. Yeah. And so,
though the special effects for the acid, that looked really good. That looked really good. Because I didn't expect that. Right, I wasn't quite sure, because you see them throw them, you just think, okay, they just gonna have them like but then when they turn, and you'd be like, oh fuck, like that's gnarly, like and it looked good. It didn't look hokey or anything. You know what I mean? It looked really good. Like how much time went into that?
I mean, quite a bit. We had a great miracle worker, special effects makeup artist, Ali Shehorn. She was amazing. I mean, a good friend of mine. She's amazing, and she did an incredible job with, with the acid, with the effects, and and how that reaction would be, on people's skins, and wanted again to just to make it slightly more dramatic, but a realistic effect of how acid would work on the skin, and the smoke, smoke and the acid and the way it would affect it. And so through her amazing work, and through Kimball editing, we made that sequence the way we as that's like the big punch, just and also I got to give it to all the actors there that they. A couple of them never acted before, and like, and Gabe was actually, I loved what he did, and I just kind of like, and without revealing too much, he kind of the first one to be with this, but I just kind of, he was waiting outside and was like, just kind of think about the most like, desperate situation. And he had been in some. And we're talking about people like we talked about, actors who have it in them already and stuff. He's like, all right, I got it. He's like, no, bounce me. Then he comes in, action, jumps in, and then that his scream, and his, how he felt the acid. That was acid. He felt the acid. Same with Derek, who's a good friend of ours. He's same with him. Breaking that window, he's coming through on the foot. Man, they felt it, and they did. That was acid. So, but but Ali, she did an amazing job, and it couldn't have done that without her. So awesome.
Just all the components came together so well for this film. I felt like there was nothing about it where you're just like, man, that was really good, but if only they could have had better music, or if only the visual effects were tighter, or man, though the main cast were good, but those supporting just really weren't great. No, there was none of that. There was none of that, and that's so good when you can watch something and all the components come together just so well.
Oh, thank you so much. And then, like, I think, it's all about, like, we've been talking about, like, it's like telling a great story. You would never, you want to, it has to be told, all those components to all be, that's how we're going to tell a great story without, where I feel like, someone who's terrible in it, or like, some, this is off, that off, you can see that wasn't right. You're being removed from it. Right. I mean, the story is not like, but I mean, where you can get really like you know, an immersive, you know, as close to a fully immersive experience without, you know, all those, you know, those things should never be a, you know, question. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, with this, right? Because it's yourself, it's Antonio, and Misha Zagagaliski. I probably
Close enough, man. Close enough. I have trouble too. You know? I think it's Zavilski. Pretty close like that. So, like, you know, yeah, man. And so, yeah,
yeah, you all work as producers on the film. So,
yeah.
how did that work? How did you kind of parcel up the tasks and the duties for the day and all of that kind of thing?
I mean, for me, me being a producer, it was like really just kind of being there from the beginning and putting the cast and crew together, and like, you know, having all that, you know, just for, you know, for the you know, fully creative side of things. And you know, and you know, Misha was the on set just to, you know, he was managing you know, everything and making sure, you know, day to day, you know, everything was running smoothly, and we got where we needed to be, and everything was you know, just organized and in place. He did a great job. And Antonio was a business side, so he, you know, really kind of made that happen. He also, you know, a couple things he really desperately needed, didn't have money for. He brought, you know, really some good, you know, yeah. So everyone, it's that where it's great to helpful to have multiple. But what do you think, Antonio? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, creatively, I leave Jigeesh on the final decision, but we went together through the cast. We did all the Zoom because we were in Corona, and all the casting was done on Zoom. We cast each person. We discussed: do you like delivery better? Do you like this better? And then, you know, always some angles that are happening, location wise, this wise. We need this. You know, just handling like a, you know, like a boat on the in the sea. You know, you gotta handle to navigate it and know the wind and everything was going on. So, you know,
I think it's important. I was going to say, sorry, I was going to say that, like, you know, it's important. I'm not for me, it's like, for me, it's like making the movie, you know, and so all facets that go into, you know, everything goes into that, I'm taking care of. And, you know, and so before we even start, it's like, we're taking, you know, I think that's where you see is producers, other director, you know, directors who are producing, mostly, like, you know, from, you know, you always have, like, you know, like actually probably pretty much everyone we've talked about produces their own stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, you know, and you know, and I feel like there were others before, but Kubrick really you know, wasn't really popular. He said, hey, I want full control. I don't want just you know, I'm taking full. And so he's putting it all together and then, like, making the movie, where, you know, the business side of stuff, you know, where, you know, we're filmmakers. We're not the business side of stuff. You know, Antonio's great at the business side of stuff. You know, we're talking about, like, you know, the financing, putting all that, you know, everything, all those kind of, you know, logistics and stuff. And then you have, like, you know, like me and Misha, super, also super important, just kind of set to set, day to day, you know. And,
yeah.
We need locations. I want this. This is it. You know, he's like, you know, he goes and gets it and stuff. So yeah. So it's so it works, you know, in tandem, you know, and I think, yeah, I think that's, yeah. So it's great. It was a great team. Yeah.
How do you, like, because, you know, you've done a lot of acting, Antonio, right? You've done a lot of acting. So where did the producing chops come from? How did you hone those skills? How did you understand, you know, the financing of things, right? How to get that money, how to do these different things?
Yeah. Well, my background, actually, I started modeling very young age, and, you know, then I was meeting a lot of people, you know, just living in a lot of different countries, and then coming to US, starting acting class and meeting people, producers, then got involved with one project short, financed it, then, you know, from that one got into the TV show, financed that one, and in the meantime, you know, I was already acting, you know, getting some parts, and then, you know, majorly going to the festivals, went a couple of times to Cannes, you know, and met a lot of people, you know. So just growing your circle of connections and you know, getting to know individuals, you know, financiers, and you know, and yeah, just learning every day new skills. And just there's nothing you cannot do, you know, learn or ask or, you know, handle it. So but on the end, you know, I found very great partnership with Jigeesh, you know, understanding his craft, understanding his philosophy and writing and directing, and you know, just believing in the craft, you know, believing we can do great things together. And I'm here to back up with anything, you know, distribution, whatever comes, because I have a range of connections, and you know, I pull things out. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, right? This all came together. So you know what I mean, you know what you're doing, man. You know what you're doing. But like
Yeah, definitely.
what, because you know, with the acting and then the producing, what, I mean, both are pulling you in different directions, right? Because
Yeah.
you've done a good job with both.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that going forward? You know, like, do you want to do more producing? Do you want to concentrate more on the acting? Like,
Yeah.
how does that play for you?
I mean, great question. Obviously, this movie was very specific because, you know, obviously it's indie, low budget. So we couldn't afford like a bigger crew, you know, people focusing on their, you know, specific craft. So I was also a little bit stressful about things, you know, because I want to make sure they're happening, they're on time, you know. Um, but obviously, you know, and also you got to really be into the character. You got to really live the day into that character, and you don't want to think of obstacles. Oh shit, is this going to happen? Oh, is this guy coming? Or delivery, whatever, you know. So uh, yeah, future wise, I really want to, you know, we're getting into really serious game right now. So you know, my producing side is, you know, making sure, you know, financing looks good, the distribution, you know, and also, you know, some of maybe, you know, connections for talent, or you know. But I love both crafts. I love acting, especially if I'm in love with character, and I do see myself in it, you know, living the spirit of the character, and I can simplify my life with the character. So that's really you giving a life to the character, and it gives you really something very deep, you know. So I love acting, and I think, you know, my career is being around that, you know. But I also have a business mind, and I love business side, which is also very driven to me. So I would like to do both, you know, keep going, you know. So also producing side can bring you more of like freedom to pick some of the roles that you really like, you know, because you can bring the asset. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, and also, you know, being 20 years and more in business, it's also very kind of in the future, you know, living from project to project. It's also like as an actor, you know, always kind of auditioning, trying to get a job, right? Which from a business side, you're more involved, and you know, you don't just depend on your talent, you know, or right fit, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, the elephant in the room. What was it like working with Tacoma? Right? The real star of the film. What was it like working with Tacoma?
Well, actually, you know, Tacoma was Henry the Pig. His name is Henry and stuff. Actually, a star in his own right. You know, been on, I believe, he's on Tonight Show.
Rising star.
Yeah, yeah. And so he actually, you know, so you know, funny story with him. Like, you know, he obviously very the core, the so central to the movie. It's kind of, you know, everything, but it's he was great. He was awesome. Like, I mean, the only problem he had, and he had to be trained for, you know, like a week or so to lie on his side, you know.
Right.
So it's really tough for them. They're in a place where it's like they're like, you know, there's danger all around you. You're exposed, the belly's exposed, and don't like being in that, you know, being that vulnerable, you know. And so it's like, you know, and so he had to be trained to lie. It took more than a week, every day training. You know, his, you know, his big parents, you know, they were awesome. Like, you know, great trainers, and they trained in, you know, Sarah that trained him just on his side. So the 2 or 3 iPhone shots, which you know, you have with Alejandra, you know, Karrie actually doing those, you know, so, you know, Sarah's kind of off to the side, kind of saying, okay. Then, you know, Tacoma had to be fine with Asher, kind of rubbing his belly, kind of getting to know him. And, you know, it took first one, you know, took like 4 or 5 takes, because Tacoma, you know, Tacoma kept getting up a little bit, but then kind of settled down and got into it. And, you know, and then we have obviously his different phases. And, but otherwise, he was like an absolute joy. He's awesome, you know, like he's too cool. He's a cool cat, you know, cool pig, you know. But it's like, and everyone was so, you know, sad to see him leave at the end. Took their photos with him and stuff. So, but he was cool. True professional. Yeah. So yeah.
So will you see Henry show up in more Jigeesh films?
Well, probably not in the next one. Next one, you know, is more. You know, I think I'm kind of good with like animals for the moment. You know, like you know, possibly if it call, you know, if you know, I write it's you know, one, you know, but definitely, but Henry, you know, yeah, absolutely look forward to working with him someday again. So we good, you know, so great. Cool.
Cool,
Awesome,
man.
man. Yeah. Definitely.
Oh man,
Definitely.
like you know, with the film coming out on Friday, so what was it like, and how certain, once you wrap the film, right, and you're going into post-production and everything like that, how sure were you that you'd captured your vision, you know, and you were going to be able to bring something to life that was going to hit the way you wanted it to hit?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like you know, when you go into it, like you're, you know, you kind of, when you shoot it, you have a pretty good, you should have a pretty like good or accurate sense of what you got, and if you didn't get it, you should get it, you know. And you know, but then in editing, you know, it's like I feel like, you know, you're always kind of looking at how a movie, because that's where you're telling stories, the editing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're shooting it. I mean, I like getting a lot of coverage and then making the decision in editing, and because, you know, I don't want to miss anything. Like we could find something here, we could find something there. I mean, like, you know, I had you know, I mean, kind of in my style of directing, you know, I like that, you know, just, you know, finding everything that's real, even, you know, in the genres we're working in. I mean, that's what, so that's important. And like, you know, getting as close to, because, you know, right, it's all imagination before that. And so really what you can do is get as close to, and I think every film, like we said, close to that vision as possible. And so, and I feel like with this movie got, you know, close to that vision as possible. And I feel, you know, and I think, like I said, everyone did a great job, but it was like, you know, you know, and the culmination of that hard work, I feel, came out in the movie, and you know, and it's true to vision, and it's very close, without, like, you know, obviously, like when you write it and you're going through, you know, like things you're imagining, and then you are, you know, in the world finding these places, then that changes, and, you know, and it may be cooler, you know, like it may be something that, you know, has another layer to it that you like it, you know. And so all of those things come into play with shooting, and then editing, you know, just sitting down and putting that together and stories together, and like, like I was talking about with performances, I'd love to see how the actors kind of altered their arcs and the direction they take, and that kind of gives the scene and informs the scene in a different way, and how I put that together. So yeah, I feel like very close. I'm so proud of it, and I love it. It's I want to make movies that I love to watch, and I want to watch. So, and then definitely just a movie just as much as I can speak objectively about it, there's just movie I want to see again and again. It's a fun movie to watch, it's great, and I'm just I'm really truly proud of it, and and I think so yeah, definitely.
Okay, I mean, something that there's now things they drop digitally most of the time, right?
Most of the time, yeah, and now
you don't usually get the physical copy like you used to.
Yeah.
So something that you lose with that is director's commentary.
You do, yeah, absolutely, and I wish you did more of that, because I think it's like really, as a filmmaker as well. I'm a filmmaker, but I think as a fan, it's fun to. I'm a filmmaker and a fan, so it's like I just love listening to their processes, and stuff, and like listening to all of that, and where I think that'll always be the case, and but yeah, I wish they had more commentary, and I wish they had more extra features. I miss those extra features.
Yeah. I mean, the ones you got on Lord of the Rings was that.
Oh my god!
I mean, that's a movie in itself.
Yeah,
man.
it is, exactly. Totally, man. Totally, absolutely, absolutely, and I feel like the closest that anyone's gotten to preserving that is Criterion. They've done a great job of like what we're that on DVD, like they really preserved it in the Criterion channel with the extra features still there for most things, and so, but man, it's hard digitally. Yeah, it's very difficult to get unless you may get a 3-minute one here, a 2-minute one here. They're not really, it's kind of like snapshots, and I'm like, that's not really an extra feature. Not like the Lord of the Rings you're talking about. Like those are, you're watching like 2 more movies. It's like, you're getting like, I mean, like, so it's like, so, and just like, in all the commentary, which is so great,
Oh man, I love the commentary track with Fight Club.
Oh man,
and they're just talking about,
great
the studio didn't want this scene, and then we did this, and then they cut it, and we were like, no, not again, and you end with a scene that's just like
so cool.
I mean, that's the first one. Like the studio should have gone with the first one, because that's just like, because I just remember there's a bit when she's like what does he say? It's something like, "Oh, they're the panties my mum gave," or something like that.
Right.
Like,
I'm trying to think about
and the line that the studio didn't want was not.
You're talking about Helena Bonham Carter, what she said. Right. Yeah, it's like and like that's the kind of thing, like that's the kind of stuff you miss. It's you had it all over, and especially the good ones like that. And Fincher is my guy. I love that guy. Man, he's the rebel. He's like, man, it's not. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. That's the way it is. And he, I love his movies. But it's the commentary track's missing. It's like, but also think about like like people watch the movie, and I really feel like they should have the extra features behind the scenes as much and more than just like a snapshot, 2-minute here, 3-minute here. It's like, really get into it. And, and those commentary tracks were there were just great ones, legendary ones like that one. I mean, like, so is, and, you really kind of get into the mentality of everybody when they're making it,
I say someone, now, I don't know, because, we haven't had a physical copy drop yet. But the book of Clarence, right? James Samuels, he really utilized his social media to give you that insight into the filming process, and behind the scenes. I thought he really did a fantastic job of bringing the audience into the making of the film.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as you said, you get a few seconds of it here and there.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first times I've seen someone go so deep with it.
Yeah.
Which I thought
Oh,
was
absolutely.
really good.
That is really great. And he used the platforms to do that, knowing that, probably it would never be seen with that kind of, it would never be seen with that kind of like, just with that amount of detail,
Yeah.
And so we're better doing, social media where you can do it
Mhm.
without any kind of anyone fucking around with it or doing, something with it or chopping it up or doing stuff like that, And so I thought that was great, and to do it that way. And it's definitely like an option for filmmakers to do. It's just like, have it going that way. And and I think it like, people can really connect with it as well. It seems, that works,
Yeah.
that way as well, yeah. I mean, we just need more of those, just need more of those. Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, essentially, what I'm trying to ask you, guess, because this is such a great conversation. It's so fascinating hearing what you and Antonio have to say about, the way this all came together.
Yeah. Thank you. Same
gonna
here. It's awesome
get
talking to you. Yeah.
Are we going to get a Tacoma commentary track?
I knew that's where it was going. I would love to do one. I would love to do one. I'd love to do one. I'd like to get I'd like to get everybody there. Some of my favorites are like where they get like you have the director, but you get a lot of the cast, and they're like ripping off one another. Those
sure.
are and like I'd love to get that. I'd love to do it. And just get everyone there watching. Sharing experiences and stories because there were plenty. And I and like you bring up a good point. It's like we don't like they're great memories or or however someone wants to say, or like intense memories, anything, but we don't, it's having the commentary tracks, like everyone not only gets to hear about them, but we get to share them and they don't get lost, into kind of, so I mean, I would love to do it. I would love to do it if it's ever a possibility,
I mean, yeah, that would be great. Or at the least,
Yeah.
do like a watch party on YouTube or something with all you guys.
That's a great idea too. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's an awesome idea. Yeah, we got to have to think about that one for sure. Yeah,
I think that would be a lot of fun because it just sounds just all of these different components, right?
Yeah.
Just having who did the Gregory and Gregory, right? Having them talk about how they scored the scenes and just those things. Have Arthur talk about the cinematography. I mean, just because man, just everything just really breathed in this.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Just people talk about it. It would just be so good.
Yeah, and everyone would have exactly like mentioning Kevin and Brian with music and Arthur, what he did. It's like it'd be great because they all bring all those great commentaries. Everyone just kind of, I mean, because you're hearing for me is like as the writer director, it's like but all these guys bring everyone else's all the the great cast and crew. They're awesome. But like insights, would be really like there might be some shit in there I don't even know. That I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear about and it'd be like very like elucidating for me. So, but yeah, it's like I would love it. And that that YouTube watch party is an awesome. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
it's a great idea. And so, yeah. So hopefully one day, near future, that'd be great. So,
no, that'd be good, man. That would be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, this has been great, man.
Oh man, you've been awesome. You're a badass interviewer, man. I can't say wow. I can't say that enough, man. It's great conversation. Great conversation with you.
It's easy when you get so much back from people. You know what I mean?
Oh.
It's, you know, sometimes you can be pulling water from a stone or whatever that expression is.
Right,
But,
right. Right.
but you know, when you got people that just want to, you know what I mean, just lyricize about their work and go into so much depth on it, that's great.
Oh,
So, you know, I
appreciate
couldn't
it.
thank
But I
you
think,
guys enough, man.
well, I think I mean, you have this, you know, you just naturally bring that out, and I love, you know, how conversation we make it, and how we, you know, the exchange back and forth, and we can, you know, and that depth only comes because of what you bring. So it's like, you know, that's I can't thank you enough for having me. You know, so,
Thank you, man. I
yeah.
appreciate that. I mean, before you go though, what's next?
What's next? Well, we have yeah, we have a movie coming up that's next level. You know, I don't want to say too much about it yet, but it's called Bob. You know, and you know, it's going to be. You know, we talk about vision. It's be and talk about the scope. It's next level. You know, and we'll be you know very ambitious, and you know, looking forward to that one. And you know, it's you know, it's and I think you know, I think we'll see each other again soon after we finish
Yeah.
that one, you know, stuff too. And,
Oh,
yeah, you know, back
tremendous.
with Kevin, you know, and I think Antonio has, you know, we're also doing a movie about his. You want to talk about that stuff
Yeah,
or later? Yeah,
we we're developing the third movie as well, which we will do right after the second one. Um, it's it's a different genre.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a war movie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, hey, if this is a, you know what I mean, like I always kind of think movies are windows, right? It's a way to look into someone's mind and their scope
Yeah,
for storytelling. And
yeah.
this was such a compelling window. I want more. So
Oh, thank you. I
I'm
appreciate
definitely
it.
gonna be there for these next two joints.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you, man. Thank
While I
you
was
so much.
listening to Gish, saying about directors and changing the scope and jumping from one project to a totally different project. um I would say, like, life happens. Stories are coming. um you either gonna become part of the story or you're gonna walk away. So I think when story choose you to do it, it's an honor. So
Yeah, and on that note, that's a great point. That's a great point. It's like I feel like it's a, you know, I feel like it's a privilege to make movies. You know, it's a privilege, and like, you know, and the fact we get to, it's all about, it's all about making another one. You know, and
absolutely.
you want to make another one. You know, and that's what it's about. And you know, if you get to do that, it's a true privilege. You know, and you know, everyone kind of yeah, and so yeah, definitely. So a good point.
So
Yeah.
people, the 31st of May, mark it down on the calendar because you do not want to miss Tacoma. As you know what I mean? It's just such a good film. Such a good film, you know, just across the board. And gentlemen, how can people keep track of everything you're doing? How can they find you?
Antonio.
Yeah, we have a social media. There is a Tacoma Film Instagram page, and we do post about characters. We will post about informations, everything about the movie. We'll post there. Absolutely.
So, and there's Buffalo, our distributor, also has a landing page. Please, there's multiple trailers out on YouTube this year. Please check those out, and you know, that'd be great. And yeah, mark that May 31st. You know, made it for you guys. You know, and hope you guys love it. And, yeah, absolutely.
Outstanding. Well,
Yeah.
gentlemen, again, thank you so much for your time. The film
Oh man.
was tremendous, and I can just only imagine people are gonna love it. People are gonna
Oh,
love it, and I cannot wait for the next opportunity to talk to you guys.
Same here. I'm so happy you enjoyed it, Kevin. Man, you rock. All I gotta say is you rock. That's it. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're just too kind.
Go Arsenal next year. Go Arsenal, man.
Yes, Arsenal Premiership is coming next year, 2025.
Yeah.
Wait, it's 2020. Yeah, it's 2024. Yeah, 2025, man. The Gunners are doing it.
Awesome.
Listen, I'm an NBA fan watching the playoffs right now, but I'm a it's Dub Nation for me through and through. Dubs, they'll be back next year. Look for it.
Who do you think's gonna win? Who do you think's gonna take it this year?
Well, for me, it's like honestly, like the Mavericks and Timberwolves series has been really interesting after taking out the last year's champion Denver. But I feel like the playoffs. Going through 3 rounds and going to the finals, obviously with Dubs of the dynasty, you had multiple dynasties, but man, I feel like this year it's been kind of like, games, like it's been like rounds of mismatches, and stuff like that. I feel if the Nuggets got through, they would have beat the Mavs like, 6 games, but the Mavs came out with the Timberwolves, the #1 defense, you talk about like, the Cat and like, Anthony Edwards doing, the defensive player of the year has not been the defensive player of the year, and Rudy Gobert, but they haven't quite shown up. But I think they got punched in the face in this round. And so Mavericks are up 3-1. Timberwolves won their first game yesterday, and 3-0. No teams come back from 3-0. Open the door a little bit. Who knows? These guys are super young, but I don't think anything to do. They got punched in the face. You got Doncic and Kyrie Irving like backcourt. It's been super well. You got length in the middle. But I feel I don't.
So 1 game that was,
Yeah, and I feel like I was going for the Timberwolves in 7. Because with the performance, their lockdown swarming defense, in the last round was and they really came on in the right moments. But the problem is clutch time. They haven't shown up in the Mavs series here, in the Western Conference Finals, and so I'm hoping. I don't think they're going to do it. So I do see a Mavs Celtics, and I do think if it's Mavs Celtics, I think Celtics will win. In the final.
Right.
So
okay,
I'm not a Celtics fan. I mean, look, I'll full respect. I'm not. We kicked their ass like 2 years ago in 6 games.
But gentlemen, I gotta slowly. I have another. Coming in.
Right.
But Kevin, my man, thank you so much. It was a journey, beautiful journey, and thank you for such a beautiful interest for the movie. And yeah, looking forward for another time with you.
Yes, man. Yeah. Thank you,
Kevin, man. You rock, and looking forward to when we can talk next. Thank you so much for having me. It was a true pleasure.
Hey, my pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. People, go watch Tacoma. Follow Jigeesh. Follow Antonio, because we're going to see so much more of them in the future. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your days.
Enjoy the evening, brother. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Nice. See you.
Bye.